Good evening, everybody. Happy Wednesday, June 2nd. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And today is going to be episode 4 of McDonald's. And, I hope you guys have viewed my videos. I always send a text to people I know to remind them. And, in my last video, I told you my goal was to hit 50 subscribers by July 1st. Because I only had 18. Well, now I'm up to 19, so at least I got one more in a week. But I just hope I get more and more and more. So today I'm going to talk about drive-thru. My last video I talked about how I presented in drive-thru, where I handed out the food and made their drink. And then before I get started with my next job is something I forgot to mention in my other videos. When you first get to work, you punch in and they give you a number. And I remember my number because I had it for 13 years and it was 62. And there's like a thing on the wall where you punch in. And like always came in at 4. And there would be like 5 or 6 of us waiting for it to hit 4 so we could all punch in. And then the next thing you do, you always have to wash your hands before you start. And you're supposed to wash your hands once an hour. And we rotate doing it throughout the whole store. God, I keep itching. And so we wash our hands. And we rotate. And then I did the presenting station. And then my next job I learned a couple weeks later after presenting was called first booth. The first booth is where you take orders and you collect the money from the customer driving around to the first window. And you have to be very multitask because sometimes the customer at the window that's paying will like ask you questions or try to talk to you. Well, someone's talking in your ear and they're trying to get their order. And if the customer at the window is like taking a while to talk to you, you're gonna have to tell the person on the headset, can you just hold for a second and I'll be right with you? Because it's really hard to do both at once. And for a few weeks, they didn't have me doing both. They just had me taking the orders because I was taking on too much. So I would take the orders and then there would be a person next to me collecting the money. And then they would tell the person to go to the next window to receive their food. So, I was used to the lunch menu from doing register. So, a few weeks later, I had to start doing both. And then someone would just stand back there with me just to make sure I'm doing okay. And the other members in drive-thru wore a headset so they can hear the orders. And a person in the kitchen would be wearing a headset so they can hear the orders. So that they can get a good head start on making their sandwich. And when I started doing both, I was like bombarded. Like, I thought it was too much. But through time, it does get easier. And when you're in first booth, like, you're far away from everybody else that's working. Like, you're in this, they call it the hole. And, like, you can't see anybody, like, in the restaurant. You can't see the kitchen people, the person handing out, the lobby. You're like in your own little world. And that's fine. And they have you doing as a secondary duty down there is making Happy Meals. And Happy Meals either come in a bag or a box. So what you do is you take a toy and you put it in the bag or the box. And then you just keep stacking them up until you can make as many as you can. There'll be a box back there full of toys that you use. And then in my later years, we used to have the first booth person making Happy Meals and also wiping trays from the lobby. Because it would get busy and we'd be running low on trays. So I started doing good with that, with the order taking and collecting the money. Sometimes the customers would come around and be like, why is my price so high? And I would read back the order and they're like, oh, okay, it's right. And then it's just maybe the prices went up. We do have price increases. Like, I think we were having them like 3 times a year where things would go up like 10 cents. And, but the food was still cheap. I started in 1996 and the food was really cheap. A value meal was $2.99, and I think now they're like $6.99. And it's really expensive now to go to McDonald's. So, um, and then the next thing I learned, I'll talk in the next video, was running for drive-through. That's basically getting the person's food in a bag and bringing it to the presenting station so they can hand it out. And I'll talk about that. And I started in August of 1996, and I turned 16 in June of 97. And that year I started working in the kitchen, but I couldn't until I was 16. And also, I forgot to mention, when you're 15, you can't drop fries. Somebody older than you has to drop fries. They have to be at least 16. And to be honest with you, when no 16-year-olds were around or no managers were around, I would drop my own fries when I was working front counter. Because I will run out and there was nothing I could do, so I would just drop the fries. And when the timer goes off, I would pick up the fries and dump them in the thing. But now you can't hire at 14 and 15, so everybody can drop fries. So that's all I got for you. And I've been pretty much staying on schedule with making videos. So today's Wednesday. I'll try to shoot for Saturday for the next one. Hey, have a good night, guys. And remember to be a Max driver. Bye-bye.